Is the truth movement a deception? In today's time, there's something called the truth movement. Basically, it's an organization of people that mainly focus on exposing certain things within society. This movement believes things like the fluoride in the water is actually poisoning us, that governments around the world commit false flag operations, even false flag operations on their own countries, that there are elite secret societies in the world that are trying to rule it in some capacity. Now, is any of this actually true? Well, the fact of the matter is, yes. Yes, all those things do go on. I'll place some links below of a couple of instances, but you can look into the government files of many nations to find that there are a lot of dark things that go on in the world. Now, the purpose of the truth movement is to expose these things in order to provide some sort of solution, to create an answer to this problem of all this chaos that is going on within the world. But is that really the solution? First off, if you don't believe in God at all, and you happen to find yourself in the truth movement, how do you think this is going to pay off for you in the end? If you don't believe in God, you're going to have to realize that eventually the universe just destroys itself. So there's really no purpose in doing any of these things or trying to expose these things, because it's actually impossible to permanently ever make things better. And in fact, better or worse don't exist, because you have to have a standard for better or worse. And if you have no standard, such as God, then there is no making things better or worse, and there is no saving anything, because eventually the universe gets destroyed. Now, many in the truth movement, though, claim to be Bible-believing Christians. There are many YouTube channels dedicated to this that say they are Bible-believing Christians. There are many big-time alternative talk show hosts that say the same thing. One big name is Alex Jones. Now, if you're a Bible-believing Christian and you're in the truth movement, are we to believe that the solution that the Bible gives is to expose all these things and then somehow attempt to take the world back from these elite groups? Is that the solution? I think many times, unfortunately, people that say they're Bible-believing Christians are people that only have partially read the Bible. If you read the whole Bible, you would find that when things get worse or better, it's always by God's hand. Some people think that there's a battle between God and Satan, and that's just not true. You know, if you go back to the story of Job, when Satan presents himself before God, we find that he actually has to get permission to do anything. He can't just go and do things randomly. He has to get permission. And he can only do certain things. He's only allowed so much of the leash that he's on. The real master of everything is God. You know, in the Old Testament in Isaiah, if you go to chapter 9, verses 10 through 14, you'll find that God is the one who always brings judgment, and he will bring it upon even his own nations that he has established. In this passage, he brings it upon Israel in one day. He raises up evil nations just to destroy his own nation because they have forgotten him. And he does so in order to try to bring people back, to try to make them recognize that they need him, and without him they are nothing. So anytime nations rise or fall, it's always by God's hand. You know, in Psalm 9, verse 17, it says this: "The wicked shall be turned into hell, and all the nations that forget God." So if you find yourself in the truth movement, and you're a Christian, and you're looking for a solution, just based on that verse, what do you think the solution is? Is it purely exposing false flag operations? Is it bringing down these secret societies and these global elite groups, like some movies would have you believe? Let me read the verse again. "The wicked shall be turned into hell, and all the nations that forget God." So it seems to me that if the reason that a nation starts to crumble and turn into a hellish place is simply because they're forgetting God, then it seems that the solution is to try to make the nation remember God. That is how to fix things. Spending all your time exposing these other things is about as good as, taking a lot of Vicodin when your finger's broken. You can make the pain go away, but if you don't fix the broken bone, the root of the problem, then you're not really fixing anything. You end up causing more harm. Inside each one of us is a DNA code, a set of instructions that allows us to function. DNA code is the exact same thing as software, because software is a set of instructions that allows a program and a computer to run. So if we have a code, there has to be a programmer. And that programmer has to be on the outside of the reality, just like a video game designer is on the outside of the game. So if we are like characters in a game, then it seems to me that when we encounter a problem, the solution is to talk to the designer. Why would we try to fix it ourselves when we can talk to the person that has total control to fix it? Seems to me that prayer should be maybe a more important focus, possibly more than anything, because it's talking to the person that has control of the whole game. And in talking about these elite groups, yes, there are elite groups in the world, and there are people that do terrible, terrible things to other people. What is the solution when it comes to those groups? Well, biblically, the solution is bringing Jesus to those groups. You know, some of the alternative radio hosts in this truth movement might say things like this.
Stop feeling like you don't have power. Stop feeling pathetic and weak. Break out of your television and tranced. It starts with a war growl. It starts with getting fired up, staring at yourself in the mirror and showing some teeth and saying, I'm a human being, I have dignity, I'm going to resist, I'm going to start recognizing the propaganda, I'm going to break free from it, I'm not going to fight with my family, I'm going to organize with my family and realize we're under attack by the social engineers, and I'm not going to fight with my neighbors, we're going to organize, humanity's going to come together. Ah! Ah! We know we're under attack, we know it, we're breaking the conditioning. Ah! Ah! We're coming for you, globalist. These people will hold our species back. They will screw everything that our ancestors fought and died to survive through hell, to pass on a baton to us to have a future. And I'm telling you from the foundations of the earth, these people were not meant to succeed and dominate greater men and women. So I'm here to beg God to give me the strength and the words to unlock the spirit of humanity with a huge awakening to bring these people down forever and to bind them for hell.
Now, if you're a Christian, you have to recognize that that's not the heart of God. If you read the Bible at any point, the God of the Bible is always for forgiveness and redemption. If you read Ezekiel 33:11, God pleads with the wicked to turn from their ways so that they might live. That's his heart. He wants even the most wicked people to turn and live, no matter what they've done. He doesn't want them to go to hell. He doesn't want them to be separated from him for eternity, which is what hell is. It's a separation from God. So if that's what God wants, that's what we should want. And that's what shows that you love God. Because if you read verses like 1 John 4:20, any man that says he loves God but hates his brother is a liar. And every human being on earth is a child of God, whether they know it or not, or want to be a child of God or not. Some people want to be God, and that's unfortunate for them, because they lead themselves into their own destruction. As it says in Romans 12:19, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. But that's not God's heart, and it's a horrible thing that God puts himself through so that we might have freedom to choose him. Because in order for many of us to have the freedom to choose, and to choose that way, some people won't choose that way. And so the analogy is you having a child. You have to convict that child of something terrible that they've done, not doing the right thing, and then you have to throw the switch on the electric chair. Imagine as a parent having to do that. Well, God's going to have to do that a lot, and that's not something that he enjoys. The real problem with the truth movement is that it only goes so far with the truth. So it becomes a bait and switch. Like many other religions in the world, what happens is that you are baited in with certain truths. They'll give you 90% truth so that you might believe 10% of the lie that they have waiting. A great movie that gives an example of this is called The Conspiracy. In that movie, 90% of the things that they talk about are true. They don't use the same names for the societies or anything like that. But the events and the goings-on within the world are things that are unfortunately true. But what happens is that they use that truth in order for you to believe a lie. Because at a certain point in the movie, they make the claim that Jesus was just a forgery of the god Mithras, this old pagan god. So after hearing 90% truth, you might be inclined to believe that 10% lie. But the fact of the matter is that if you go and explore on your own, you'll find that there's no truth in that statement. Jesus was not based on pagan gods, and I'll put some links below showing that. But that's really the heart of the truth movement, is the bait and switch. to give you 90% truth so that you'll go off in a completely wrong-headed direction. Because remember, these secret societies don't have to expose anything. Lots of times things are leaked out so that you'll get built up into a rage. You want to take things into your own hands. So they create this chaos so that you'll spend your whole time trying to put out these little fires, when the reality is that even the Bible says that we will not beat these people. God will beat them in the end. We are not to beat them. That is not our heart. We are to go out and spread the good news in the hopes that the wicked might turn their ways. Jesus will win, and we win by developing our own relationship with Jesus. Because this world is not our home, and our life really hasn't even started yet. So Satan's plan is to make you ignore that in any way possible. To give you these truths so that you'll go off and just waste your life. Should we raise our hand and tell people that you might want to avoid the things that are in the water or the foods that you eat because they might cause disease? Yes, but what we really want to tell people is that Jesus exists, and He is the way to your real life. He is the truth. So remember, if you're in the truth movement, fixing the country only happens by the hand of God. So if you want to fix the country, the solution is to remember God. And if you want to gain life, the solution is to remember God and to reach out to Jesus. Because the way of the truth does mean life. And we need to listen when the truth speaks.